cutting off the ring. One of the smartest things a boxer can do is take away the space the other guy needs. The goal is to close off the easy exit and make him fight near the edges of the ring. When Gennady Golovkin fought David Lemieux at Madison Square Garden in October 2015, one of the big questions was whether Lemieux would be able to land clean power shots. Lemieux was one of the division's hardest punchers, and punchers like that want to plant their feet and throw haymakers. Golovkin spent the night taking that away. The jab allowed him to take small steps to close off the escape route and force Lemieux toward the perimeter. When Lemieux tried to slide out and get back to center ring, Golovkin was already stepping across that lane and meeting him with the jab. Instead of escaping cleanly and setting his feet, Lemieux was constantly getting turned, edged back, and made to reset before he could punch. By the 5th round, Golovkin dropped him with a body shot. By the 8th round, Lemieux's face was badly marked up and the referees stopped it. Joe Calzaghe was also a master at cutting off the ring. When he fought Jeff Lacy in 2006, Lacy was unbeaten and dangerous if he could get set and throw. Calzaghe never gave him the room to do that. His footwork kept taking away the exit before Lacy could claim it, and the punching volume pinned him near the edges. Instead of planting in front of Calzaghe and letting his shots go, Lacy was forced to cover up or reset. By the end of 12 rounds, Calzaghe had landed 351 punches to Lacy's 116, and dropped him in the last round. Taking away the jab. The jab is how a lot of fighters find their range, set their rhythm, and start the rest of their offense. If you can take that away, they can't get into a good flow. When Winky Wright fought Shane Mosley in their first fight in 2004, he made it hard for Mosley to use his jab. Wright's southpaw jab was coming from an angle Mosley was not used to dealing with, and Wright's high guard gave him very little clean feedback when he tried to jab back. Instead of finding a clear lane, Mosley was touching gloves and guard. That made it harder for him to find range with his jab and start his offense the way he normally did. Without that first punch working cleanly, the combinations Mosley used came slower and with less rhythm. By the end of 12 rounds, Mosley never found his rhythm, and Wright won a unanimous decision. In September 1993, Pernell Whitaker shut down Julio Cesar Chavez Sr.'s jab. Chavez liked to step in, build pressure, and make the fight happen behind his lead side. Whitaker kept changing the look with his positioning, his reactions, and the way he made Chavez hesitate before fully committing. Instead of getting a clean read with the jab and building forward from there, Chavez was seeing a target that moved, shifted, or answered back. He still pressed, but he was not getting the kind of clean, lead-hand control that usually helped him settle the fight. Officially, it was scored a draw, but most people watching thought Whitaker had won. When Tyson Fury fought Vladimir Klitschko in 2015, he never let one of boxing's best jabs get going. Klitschko had spent years controlling fights with that lead hand, using it to measure range, keep opponents outside, and line up the right hand behind it. Fury kept switching looks, feinting, changing rhythm, and beating Klitschko to the punch before he could settle in. Klitschko never got comfortable fencing with the jab the way he usually did, and without that, the rest of his offense stayed stuck. By the end of 12 rounds, Fury had won a unanimous decision and ended Klitschko's heavyweight title reign. Controlling the center. The center of the ring is the best real estate in a fight. If a boxer can hold it, the other one usually has to work harder just to get into position. When Bernard Hopkins fought Felix Trinidad at Madison Square Garden in September 2001, he made Trinidad attack from weak spots. Trinidad had gone into the fight 40-0 with 33 knockouts and was used to walking opponents down behind his pressure and power. Hopkins never gave him the space he wanted. He kept the fight in front of him, stayed balanced in the middle, and made Trinidad come in from farther out. That mattered because Trinidad was more dangerous once he could step forward and set his feet. Instead, he had to reach for Hopkins from the outside. Hopkins landed 260 punches to Trinidad's 129, and by the championship rounds, Trinidad was the one getting broken down. In the 12th, Hopkins dropped him with a right hand, and Trinidad's father climbed into the ring to stop the fight. Andre Ward was also a master at owning the center of the ring, and he showed it against Chad Dawson in 2012. Dawson had moved down from light heavyweight to challenge Ward at 168, and Ward never let him own the middle of the ring for long. He stood his ground, took the better position, and made Dawson work around him instead of through him. Once Dawson was the one circling and reaching, Ward could pick his spots and punish him. Ward dropped Dawson late in the 3rd, again in the 4th, and finished him in the 10th after another hard sequence had him backing up and out of answers. Against Oscar Valdez in 2022, Shakur Stevenson showed how to hold the center and made Valdez work from the outside. Valdez was the aggressive puncher, but he was the one getting pushed toward the edges and asked to attack around Stevenson's position. That made every entry harder. Stevenson could see the attack coming, meet it with the jab or the left hand, and reset the fight back where he wanted it. He dropped Valdez in the 6th and won a wide, unanimous decision, making the opponent lead. Some fighters are most dangerous when they can counter. The trick is getting the other man to start the exchange for you. When Juan Manuel Marquez fought Manny Pacquiao for the 4th time in 2012, Marquez scored a knockdown in the 3rd. Pacquiao dropped him in the 5th. Then, late in the 6th, Pacquiao came forward again. Marquez timed the shot perfectly, and the right hand landed flush. Pacquiao went face first into the canvas and stayed there. That finish worked because Marquez had spent the fight getting Pacquiao to lead and paying close attention to what came with it. Guillermo Rigondeaux was outstanding at making the opponent lead. When he fought Nonito Donaire in 2013, he made Donaire reach first. Donaire had the bigger reputation and the bigger left hook, but Rigondeaux stayed just far enough away to make him start exchanges he did not fully control. He changed the look, gave small feints, and made Donaire show his intentions before the real exchange began. Once Donaire had to lead, Rigondeaux could read the entry, beat him to the shot, or make him miss and reset. Donaire scored a knockdown in the 10th, but over the full fight he was getting pulled into exchanges that started on Rigondeaux's terms. Rigondeaux won a unanimous decision and took Donaire's WBO junior featherweight title. Controlling distance. A boxer who controls distance gets to decide which shots are on the table. If he keeps the fight at the range he wants, his offense lands cleaner and the punching from the wrong spot. Vladimir Klitschko forced Alexander Povetkin back to long range in 2013. Povetkin was trying to get inside, close the gap, and work where his shorter frame made more sense. Klitschko never let that become a clean process. The jab was stopping Povetkin on the way in, and every time the distance started collapsing, Klitschko either tied him up or forced him to restart from farther out. That is what made the fight so ugly for long stretches. Povetkin was not getting clean entries or clean combinations once he got there. He was spending too much of the night crossing the same distance again. Klitschko scored knockdowns in the 2nd, 7th, and 11th rounds and won a wide, unanimous decision. Against Jerry Cooney in 1982, Larry Holmes kept the fight at a range Cooney did not want. Cooney had size, power, and one of the most dangerous left hooks in boxing, but Holmes never let him launch that offense from the right range. The jab stopped Cooney from stepping in comfortably and made him reach before his heavier shots could even become a threat. That mattered because Cooney was at his best once he could close the gap and punch with his feet under him. Holmes made him work just to get near the right range, and that extra distance wore on him round after round. In the 13th, Holmes finally broke him down and finished the fight. Breaking rhythm. A boxer in rhythm gets to see the fight a half step earlier. Breaking that rhythm means changing the timing, changing the look, and never letting the other guy settle into the pace he wants. Naseem Hamed did that to Kevin Kelly in 1997. Kelly wanted exchanges he could read and answer, but Hamed gave him chaos instead. He switched stance, jumped in from odd angles, pulled back farther than expected, then came back with shots Kelly was not set for. The fight had 4 knockdowns in the first 4 rounds because neither man was dealing with normal timing. But Hamed was the one more comfortable inside that mess. Kelly could punch, and he had moments, but he never got the kind of steady rhythm that lets a fighter build offense layer by layer. In the 4th round, Hamed put him down twice and finished the fight. Roy Jones Jr. took James Toney's rhythm away in 1994 before Toney could really settle. Toney was one of the calmest fighters in boxing once he had the pace where he wanted it. He liked to read, roll, counter, and make the other man fight at his speed. Roy never gave him that. The hand speed kept interrupting the beat of the fight, and the quick entries and exits changed what Toney had to react to. Instead of getting long stretches where he could sit there, read the shots, and answer back, Toney was getting touched first and reset again. After 12 rounds, Jones had won a wide unanimous decision and taken Toney's IBF super middleweight title. Setting traps. A trap in boxing is showing the other fighter something on purpose, knowing what reaction it usually gets, and being ready for the shot that opens after it. When Gervonta Davis fought Rolando Romero in 2022, he stayed patient enough to let the opening come to him. Romero was aggressive, explosive, and always looking to jump in with something big, which made him easy to read if the pattern repeated enough times. Davis gave him small looks, small openings, and moments where it seemed safe to rush in. Romero kept taking the bait. In the 6th round, he stepped in again. Davis pulled back just enough to clear the line, and the left hand landed clean. Romero stumbled sideways into the ropes, then fell hard a few steps later. Canelo Alvarez spent most of his 2019 fight with Sergey Kovalev building toward one opening. Kovalev's jab was still there, and Canelo had to solve that before the bigger shot could appear. He watched the rhythm, edged closer, and made Kovalev throw into a pace that was getting easier to read. By the 11th round, Kovalev's reactions were slower, and the opening was finally there. Canelo landed a left hook, then came right back with the right hand that ended the fight. The knockout looked sudden, but he had spent round after round building to that exact moment. Positioning battle. Position can decide the exchange before the punch does. Feet, shoulders, and angle control decide who gets lined up first, who has to turn, and who ends up punching from the better position. When Dimitri Bivol fought Gilberto Ramirez in 2022, Ramirez kept finding Bivol already set where he wanted to be. Bivol's feet were in place first, his shoulders stayed lined up, and that gave him the cleaner lane for the jab and right hand. Ramirez was bigger and wanted to make the fight physical, but he was having to reach in from worse angles. Instead of getting Bivol squared up in front of him, he was running into a man who was already balanced and already pointing the exchange where he wanted it to go. By the end of 12 rounds, Bivol had won a wide, unanimous decision and kept his light heavyweight title. Nigel Benn wanted the fight fast and violent in 1990, but Chris Eubank kept changing the position before the shots could land clean. Benn was explosive early and was trying to crash into exchanges, but Eubank kept shifting the line just enough to spoil the angle. Even when the fight got wild, that battle was deciding who got the better of the exchange. One man was set and the other was reaching. One man was balanced and the other was falling in. One man had the straighter lane and the other had to recover before throwing again. In the 9th round, once Benn was tiring and the positions got harder to win cleanly, Eubank broke him down and stopped him, forcing opponents backward. Walking a fighter backward changes the whole exchange. The feet get less stable, the balance gets worse, and the shots usually come with less confidence than they do going forward. When Errol Spence Jr. fought Danny Garcia in 2020, he forced Garcia onto the back foot behind the jab. Garcia is most comfortable when he can sit down on counters and fire with his feet under him, but Spence kept taking that away. The jab was putting Garcia in retreat, and once he was backing up, Spence could start layering in the straight left and body work. Garcia was still dangerous, but too much of the fight was happening while he was moving the wrong way. By the end of 12 rounds, Spence had won a unanimous decision and controlled most of the fight with forward pressure. Gennady Golovkin did the same thing to Gabriel Rosado in 2013. Rosado was tough and willing, but Golovkin marched him backward until almost every exchange was happening on retreat. Rosado was taking shots while trying to reset his feet instead of planting and punching back cleanly. Golovkin's jab kept the pressure on, and the right hand kept landing once Rosado ran out of room to give. By the 7th round, Rosado's face was badly swollen and cut, and his corner stopped the fight before the 8th.